Rodger Blaker, and he's returning to us today on the going to be talking to us. He's with Blaker Business Coaching. He's my personal business coach and life coach, and we've become to know and love him, and so he's going to be giving us a special Valentine's Day message. So I'm going to turn this over to you, Rodger Blaker.
Oh, thank you. Glad to be back, and I was listening to all of the previous guests and listening to the different things they were talking about as far as how to care for themselves and for others. And so it really fits into the blessing part of it. So I want to cover 5 major points of, I said here, it's like I got ADD. You start moving around, I start watching what you're doing. It's not your fault. It's like that's my curiosity getting away. What is she doing?
Well, and of course I hope that nobody sees me, but I run around.
No, I just make sure I point it out.
yeah, because we work on time schedules and stuff here, but
Exactly.
I'm so happy. So you're going to be finding ways to bless people.
Right.
Is that what we're going to be doing?
Yeah, because I just want to cover some background or some fundamentals on this, because one of the things that I was thinking about when I was listening to the previous programs, the people and what they're talking about, and the thing about love language, or the Steve the attorney or Danielle, something I recognize, and I think this is where it really fits in on how we are able to be supportive of other people, because all of these different things people are talking about are things when we're outside ourselves focusing on someone else. And I think that's the foundation part, and it's been my observation, it is my belief, that if we take time to focus on others, focus outside ourselves, the people that do that, it's been my experience, that tend to be happier. And I'm not a therapist, I'm not a professional in the area of the things to do with depression and things like that, but I have heard from many professionals that a lot of the people that struggle with depression, obviously there could be chemical imbalances, I understand all that, but a lot of it is simply because someone's focused inward. They're focused on themselves. And I don't want to discount the fact that people have different problems and struggles, and getting help to how to resolve those could help eliminate some of that. But I think that I've seen situations, and it's been my own experience, that if we take action to focus outside ourselves, to engage in someone else and focus on them, a lot of times we can be feeling down or be struggling with some of the things, and it will be lightened. It may not be eliminated, but it will be lightened. So in the regard to blessings, I have said here, I don't, let me go ahead and explain this. I'm saying like I'm panting, just to let people know I had a horse accident.
Well, yeah, and I probably should have addressed that when the horse was in, because he's wearing a sling here and everything.
And I didn't realize what the effort was going to be to set up like this and everything, but I got 6 broken ribs and a collarbone broken, and it affects my breathing. No, it's not that. It's just setting up this way. So I just bear with me if I end up like I'm gasping for air. It's not anything that's that bad, but it is affecting my breathing.
I want to see what the horse looked like.
He came out great.
Yeah.
So back to blessing, though. So I want to go through 5 things that I recognize about this to be able to consider about being a blessing to others. First off is understanding what a blessing is. Because we may have heard those terms, it might be something that you haven't spent much time thinking about, but what does it mean to be a blessing to someone else? And I think the first thing that for me that helps me think about that or do something more automatically is I look at everyone as individuals. They're unique. Mm-hmm. And there's a term that I use that whether you believe in there's a God or not doesn't really matter as much, but the way that I express it, that I think it really makes sense, is that we never look in the eyes of another human being that doesn't matter to God. Now, whether we believe in God or not, it just means we look in the eyes of somebody that is equal. And consequently, if I start with that as a foundational thing, that they're a unique individual, they're good, they're bad, just like I have my good, my bad, and eliminate kind of all that minutia. And we all know that if you watch the news media very much, which I don't do, and I do stay informed, that a lot of what you see there is a lot of people that are doing a lot of criticizing of others. I mean, it's almost become, it's a constant thing you get bombarded with. It doesn't give you...
That's why I'm very hesitant to even tell somebody, unless it's to criticize others, because we hear it enough, like you said.
Way too much if we listen to news media and stuff. I mean, it goes on constantly. So if I look at people and just kind of eliminate all that, and just look at every individual as being unique and being special in some way, then I've simply made them an equal to me, because I do have a tendency, and I think it's not uncommon, that I tend to judge people. Somebody's not dressed the way I am. They're got piercings all over them or tattoos or something like that, and I can have some opinion about that. But what does that really matter? Because they're still a human being. So if I look at it that way to start with, then how can it be a blessing? And there's some ideas about that, and I made some notes here, as I usually do, to help me remember what I want to talk about. It's about home or work and where I can do these things, because obviously there's appropriate ways to do this that really is a caring action towards other. And so I want to look at everyday life, and I put some notes down here as about, it's about, words like this, that if I consider someone that I want to take an action of love or peace or joy or compassion, gentleness, generosity, if I think about terms like that I am considering towards someone, if I focus on those things, then the tendency is not going to be to start judging them or thinking negatives or what they don't do right or whatever, because we have a choice here. We can either choose to do that, or we can choose to look at the negative side of things. And I don't want to discount the fact that if we're in a business or in a relationship, there are times to talk about something that is causing maybe a negative effect in a relationship, or there's a negative consequence at work. I mean, that's realistic. But that means that's that situation, that time. It doesn't mean the overall person. So if we take a situation with an individual, that we look at them through a situation of generosity and those kinds of things, overall, deal with the unique situation that may be a problem he's dealt with, keep that separate from the overall person, we're better balanced about how we can do that. So, and then think about ways to bless. I mean, just out of curiosity for you yourself, I mean, what do you think about how would be things that you would do or say that you think would be blessings, for example? How would that look for you, Kathy? I mean, what do you think?
Well, that do say just being kind at like going to normal places when I go out, gracious to the cashier, thanking her for
Excellent
when I'm at
point.
the grocery store, and engaging them in conversation like I would anybody. How are you today?
Smiling.
Smile. And I notice that I get a kick out of it, and it's a lot more fun getting my groceries. But I mean, and I'm not saying that they're less than, but I mean, everybody I come in touch with, I try to smile and touch and just make a notice. Isn't that a pretty color you're wearing?
And that's an easy one to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I put down here, that's one of them I put, and then how about the willingness to just listen?
I have to work at that one.
Yeah, we've been talking about that. But think about listening generously, a smile, which you recognizing something about them, like you said, something that, I mean, if we look for the things, and these are talking about Steve was talking about behavior. These are behaviors that we can incorporate more thoroughly or change or whatever if we start making a point when I'm out and about, looking outside myself at other people, and looking about something nice about them or whatever, and you'll start seeing it.
Well, yeah. And I think that the old adage of you can't say anything nice, don't say it at all.
Right.
Especially to people, because it can really make somebody's day. Just to have that, wink and a nod, and sometimes, and just to have somebody talk to you.
Right.
And so I like that. And then with my coworkers and things, I like people to feel good around me. So, I hope that I'm a blessing.
I think that one of the other people I heard on the program earlier was saying something about doing something and you're not looking for expectations in return. I think if we're going to be a blessing, that means that we give it away freely And we're not doing it because we were expecting or wanting something back from the other person. And I think that's a lot of what happens in situations, especially if you've got family dynamics and things. People do things because they're wanting the other person to change or do something like that, and
you're setting yourself up for disappointment when you do that.
Absolutely. And then we get disenchanted, and we're angry at the other person, and all those kinds of things. And really, in the pure, simplest form, a blessing is a situation where that is not on the table. That if I'm doing this, I'm not doing it, even if the person doesn't receive it well or responds back in a negative way. What's that have to do with the fact that I chose to take the action I did and leave the rest of it alone? Because I think that's when we get ourselves kind of in the trap. We're doing it because we're wanting something. And I think it goes back to the thing about giving something away freely and without any kind of strings attached. And learning to do that in a family system. You're talking about a powerful dynamic. Because a lot of what we do in family systems or in work, because again it's more relationship, is we do things because we're trying to manipulate the situation as opposed to doing something of acts of kindness. So very important to do to incorporate.
Well, you can only change
blessing.
you, and you know what I've noticed is, I guess doing to others the old golden rule applies there, is you would be treated, and you know what, people will treat you in kind. At least that's my experience. I'm better at controlling what I do than what others.
Yeah.
Or just be me.
Right. The very true thing, if we got a situation that's already aggravated, and if we start becoming agitated and aggravated, it just accelerates it.
Yeah.
As opposed to maybe trying to find an outcome that could be different or at least neutral. A couple of words put down here that everybody knows this to be true, but making a point of doing it is saying thank you or you're welcome. Just a common thing. I mean, today I was meeting.
We don't say thank you enough.
I was meeting a friend for lunch before I came down here, and the guy comes by to pick things up off the table, and he says, "Man, may I take the plate and everything?" Is handing it to him, but also is making a point of looking him in the eye and say thank you. You never know. And I don't think, I don't know if it's just our culture here in Texas as opposed to the rest of the country. I really don't know, but it seems to me that seems to be something that I hear pretty regularly here. I don't think it's a big mystery to say thank you or you're welcome. I'll tell you the downside, though, and we probably all had this happen. I know it has to me. I've told somebody something, I complimented them on something, and it's no big deal. And talk about somebody not really considering what their response does to someone. It discounts the person that gave the compliment. And I had to do. I had a lot of work from professional people teaching me how to receive.
Well, you know what? I think that I probably am guilty of that myself because we're humble and no, don't worry, but you're right. I never looked at it. We steal from the other person. We do that. Yeah. We discount them, and it may not think about that way. So be a gracious receiver.
Just simply say thank you. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to just thank you and sincerely mean it. And I had a therapist that was working on me intently in this area. One day she complimented me in a session. I just blew by it. And she repeated it. And I blew by it again. And so she repeated it again. That third time, I finally stopped and said thank you. And she pointed out that I have a very difficult time receiving compliments, receiving things from people. And I've never forgotten that day in that session. It's probably one of the most impactful things that we worked on. And I made a point after that, when somebody says something nice to me or compliments or anything, is simply thank you and mean it because they took the time to do it. And also, I've had it happen where I complimented somebody or I apologized for something, and they just kind of blew it off. And I realized I wasn't really trying to do that to get something from them, but I felt the discounting, so that stuck with me. Is if somebody apologizes or says thank you and everything, acknowledge the fact they took the time to do that, because that's a way to do what we're talking about here. It's blessing them back. So anyway, what do we do? How are we doing on time?
Well, we've still got about a minute and a half.
Okay, all right. So let me cover something, because when I was looking this over, I mean, one thing that I have done in my life, and I started doing it some years ago.